Park Tae-ho had been floating in space for 11 days. He did not know this. He was asleep. Not normal sleep, but the deep cold sleep that the emergency pod forced upon him when everything went wrong. The kind of sleep where you do not dream, do not think, do not feel time passing at all. 11 days ago, the survey ship Haniel had been his home. Tae-ho was a lieutenant in the Space Force, 29 years old, with a face that his mother always said looked too serious. He'd been eating dinner in the mess hall when the first explosion happened. Then the second. Then the alarm started screaming, and the lights turned red, and everyone was running. The reactor had failed. Something in the core had cracked, and now the ship was dying. Tae-ho remembered running through corridors filled with smoke. He remembered seeing his crewmates fall. He remembered the captain's voice on the speaker, calm even at the end, telling everyone to get to the escape pods. Tae-ho made it to a pod. He was the only one who did. The pod launched just as the Haniel broke apart behind him. He watched through the small window as the ship that had been his home for 2 years turned into fire and metal and nothing. 23 people had been on that ship. 23 friends. Now there was only Tae-ho, alone in a tiny metal box drifting through the black. The pod was supposed to keep him safe. It had air, water, and a beacon that would call for help. It had a cryo-sleep system that would put him into deep sleep, so he would not use up all the supplies while waiting for rescue. It had a climate control system that would keep the temperature comfortable, but the pod was damaged. The climate control was broken. Tae-ho discovered this on the second day, when he woke up shivering so hard his teeth hurt. The temperature inside the pod had dropped to near freezing. He checked the systems and found the problem. The climate control was cycling randomly, sometimes too cold, sometimes too hot. There was no way to fix it. He tried to survive normally at first. He wrapped himself in the thin emergency blanket. He did exercises to stay warm during the cold cycles. He stripped down to his underwear during the hot cycles when the pod became like an oven, but it was not enough. On the third day, during a cold cycle, his uniform got wet from sweat. Wet fabric against skin in freezing temperatures was dangerous. He knew this from his training. Wet fabric would pull heat from his body faster than air alone. It could kill him. So Tae-ho made a choice. He took off all his clothes. It felt strange at first. Wrong. He was a military officer, trained to follow rules and maintain dignity. But dignity would not keep him alive. The pod was tiny, barely big enough for one person to lie down. No one could see him. No one would ever know. He programmed the emergency beacon to send signals on all frequencies. He set the cryo-sleep system to activate. Then he lay down naked on the cold metal floor, closed his eyes, and let the machine put him to sleep. That was 11 days ago. Now, something was different. Tae-ho could feel it even before he opened his eyes. The air smelled wrong. Not like the recycled air of the pod, but something else. Something alive. And there were sounds. Soft sounds like whispers, but not in any language he knew. He opened his eyes. The pod's lid was open. Above him was not the black of space, but a ceiling that seemed to glow with soft blue light. And standing around him, looking down at him, were creatures. Tae-ho's heart stopped. Then it started again, beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. There were 7 of them. They were tall, taller than any human, with bodies that looked thin and fragile. Their skin was pale, almost clear, and Tae-ho could see light moving beneath it. Soft pulses of blue and green and purple, like something inside them was glowing. Their faces were almost human, but not quite. Eyes too large, nose too small, mouths that seemed made for shapes human mouths could not make. They were looking at him. All of them. But not at his face. Tae-ho looked down at himself and remembered. He was naked. Completely naked. His face burned with shame, and he tried to cover himself with his hands, tried to sit up, tried to find something to hide behind Dot, but then he noticed something else. The creatures were not looking at his nakedness. They were looking at his chest, at his stomach, at the marks on his skin. Scars. Taeho had many scars. A long white line across his chest from a training accident when he was 22. A rough patch on his shoulder from a burn he got during his first mission. A thick surgical scar down his stomach from when doctors had to remove his appendix after the shuttle crash 2 years ago. Smaller scars on his arms and legs from a life of working with machines and metal and fire. He had never thought much about them. They were just part of his body now. Reminders of times when things went wrong, but he survived anyway. But these creatures were looking at his scars, like they were looking at something impossible, something terrifying. One of them stepped back, then another. The lights inside their bodies were flickering fast now, like heartbeats racing with fear. Taeho did not understand. He was one naked human in a room full of aliens. He should be the one who was afraid. But these creatures, these beings who had pulled him from the void of space, they were afraid of him. No, not of him, of what his scars meant. The tallest creature, standing at the front of the group, opened its mouth and made sounds that Taeho could not understand. But a moment later, a device on its chest glowed, and words came out in Korean. Broken, strange Korean, but Korean nonetheless. "You have been damaged," the creature said. "Many times. You have been damaged many times." Taeho nodded slowly. "Yes, but you are not dead. No." The creature's inner light went dark. In the silence that followed, Taeho could feel something change. Something important. Something that would change everything. "What are you?" the creature whispered. Taeho did not know how to answer. The creatures gave Taeho a blanket. It was soft and warm, made from a material he did not recognize. He wrapped it around himself quickly, grateful to have something covering his body. The shame of being seen naked by strangers was still burning in his chest, but there were bigger problems now. He was on an alien ship, surrounded by beings from another world, and he had no idea if they were friends or enemies. The tall creature who had spoken to him stepped forward again. Up close, Taeho could see that she was female, or at least what he thought was female. Her body was slightly different from the others, curved in places where theirs was straight. The lights under her skin pulsed in calm, steady rhythms now, like a heartbeat that had finally slowed down. "I am called Ire," she said through the translation device. "We are the Valori. We found your small ship drifting in the empty space between stars. We brought you here." Taeho bowed his head slightly, a habit from his culture. "Thank you. You saved my life." Ire tilted her head at the gesture. "You are welcome. We are observers. We study other beings. When we found your signal, we were curious. Your species is new to us. You have never met humans before. We have watched your world from far away. We have listened to the sounds you send into space, but we have never seen one of your kind up close." Taeho looked around the room. It was beautiful in a strange way. The walls seemed to move slightly, like they were breathing. The floor was soft under his feet, not hard metal like human ships. Everything had an organic feel to it, as if the ship itself was alive. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To our research station," Ire said. "We wish to learn more about you, about your species." Something in her voice made Taeho feel uneasy. "Learn what?" Ire did not answer right away. She looked at the other Valori, and Taeho saw their lights flicker in patterns that might have been some kind of silent communication. Then she turned back to him. "May I ask you questions?" "Yes. The marks on your body. The damaged places. You called them scars," Taeho said. "Scars." Ire repeated the word like she was tasting it. "How did you get them?" Taiho touched a long scar on his chest without thinking. This one was from training. A piece of equipment broke and cut me. This one, he touched his shoulder, was a burn from an engine fire. This one, he ran his hand down his stomach, was from surgery after an accident. Surgery? When doctors cut open your body to fix something inside. Irai's lights flickered rapidly. They cut you open? On purpose? Yes, my appendix was damaged. They had to remove it or I would have died. The Valori behind Irai made sounds of distress. Their lights were going wild now, flashing in patterns that looked like fear or shock or both. And after they cut you, Irai said slowly, your body closed itself? The wound became this mark. Yes, it took time, weeks, but the skin grew back together. Taiho frowned. Is this strange to you? Irai was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was very soft. Valori do not scar. Taiho waited for her to continue. When we are damaged, our bodies cannot repair themselves the way yours does. If we are cut, we must have immediate medical care. Machines must close the wound and regrow the tissue perfectly. If we do not receive this care within hours, the damage becomes permanent. We lose the damaged part forever. You mean if you cut your arm and no one helps you? The arm dies. We must remove it or we die too. Taiho stared at her. He thought about all the times he had been hurt in his life. The cuts that had healed on their own. The broken toe he had never even seen a doctor for. The countless small wounds that had closed and faded until he forgot they ever existed. And scars? He asked, you never get scars? We do not have a word for this. The idea that damage could heal but leave a mark. This does not exist for us. You either heal perfectly or you do not heal at all. Taiho sat down on the soft floor. His legs felt weak. He was beginning to understand why the Valori had looked at him with such fear. The other scar, Irai said, moving closer. The one on your stomach. You said doctors cut you open and removed a part of your body. Yes, and you survived this. Yes, many humans have this surgery. It is very common. Irai knelt down in front of him. Her large eyes were fixed on his face, and for the first time, Taiho saw something other than fear in them. He saw wonder. Among the Valori, such a surgery would be impossible. Opening the body causes too much damage. No one would survive. Our doctors do it every day. They open bodies, fix what is broken, and close them again. People walk out of the hospital a few days later. Irai shook her head slowly. Your species is very young. You have only been sending signals into space for a short time. We classified you as primitive, weak, possible workers for labor. We thought you were nothing special. And now? Now I am not sure what to think. She stood up and walked to a window. Outside, stars drifted past slowly. There are many species in the galaxy, Taiho of Earth. We have studied thousands of them. Most are fragile, like us. They break easily and heal slowly. Some are strong but stupid, good for fighting and nothing else. Some are smart but their bodies are weak. She turned back to him. But I have never seen a species that can be cut open, have parts removed, heal itself, and keep living as if nothing happened. I have never seen a being wear their damage on their skin like badges of survival. Taiho looked down at his scars. He had always thought of them as ugly things, marks of times when he had failed to be careful enough. But hearing Irai talk about them made him see them differently. We are a young species, he said slowly. But we have survived many things, wars, diseases, disasters. We are not easy to kill. Irai's lights pulsed in a pattern Taiho did not recognize. No, she said. I am beginning to understand that. She walked to a panel on the wall and touched it. The surface lit up with symbols Taiho could not read. There are others in the galaxy who will want to know about your kind. Some will want to study you, as we do. Some will want to use you. Her voice grew darker. And some will want to destroy you before you become a threat. A threat? We have barely left our own planet. Ire looked at him with those two large eyes. That is what makes you dangerous. You are young. You are damaged. You are scarred. And yet, here you are, alive, wrapped in a blanket, talking to beings from another star. If your people can survive what your body shows me, you have survived. She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to die. An alarm began to sound through the ship. Red lights flashed. Ire's body went dark, all the light draining from her skin in an instant. What is it? Taiho asked, jumping to his feet. Ire's voice was barely a whisper. They are here. The ones who see your kind as weapons. They have come to take you. Taiho felt cold fear run through his body. But beneath the fear, something else was waking up. Something old. Something human. He was not going to be taken anywhere. The Valori ship shook as something large connected to its side. Taiho grabbed the wall to keep his balance. The soft material under his hand pulsed faster now, like a scared heartbeat. Even the ship itself seemed afraid. What is happening? He asked. Ere was moving quickly, touching panels on the wall, making the symbols change colors. The Korath. They intercepted our research signal. They know we found something interesting. Who are the Korath? Warriors. Conquerors. They take what they want and destroy what they cannot use. Ire's voice was shaking. They want you. Me? They do not even know what I am. They know enough. They know we found something new. Something that excited us. The Korath always want what excites others. Taiho tightened the blanket around his waist. He was still nearly naked, still barefoot on the soft alien floor. Not exactly ready for a fight, but something inside him was already preparing for one. Can your people fight them? He asked. Ire made a sound that might have been sad laughter. The Valori are observers. We watch and study. We do not fight. We have no weapons, no armor, no training. Then what do you do when someone attacks you? We surrender. We hope they do not hurt us too badly. We wait for them to leave. Taiho stared at her. On Earth, such an attitude would get you killed. But then he remembered what she had told him about Valori bodies. They could not heal from damage. Every wound was permanent. Every fight was a risk of losing a piece of yourself forever. For a species like that, fighting made no sense. Better to bend than to break. But Taiho was not Valori. He was human. The door to the room suddenly opened. Not slowly, not politely, but fast and hard, as if something had torn it from its frame. Through the opening came beings that made Taiho's blood turn cold. The Korath were huge. Each one stood nearly 3 meters tall, with bodies covered in dark armor that seemed grown onto their skin rather than worn. Their heads were flat and wide, with small eyes that glowed red in the dim light. Their hands had 4 fingers each, thick and strong, ending in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through metal. There were 6 of them. They moved into the room with the confidence of creatures who had never lost a fight. The leader was the biggest. He stepped forward and looked around the room, his red eyes scanning the terrified Valori before landing on Taiho. This is the specimen. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. The translation device turned it into Korean, but the threat behind the words needed no translation. You have no right to be here, Eri said. Her voice was trying to be strong, but Taiho could see her body shaking. This is a Valori research vessel. We are protected under Accord law. The Korath leader made a sound that might have been a laugh. Accord law. Yes, very important. Very respected. He took a step toward Ire. But the Accord is not here. Only us. And you have something we want. The human is not yours to take. Everything is ours to take. The leader moved fast, faster than something that big should be able to move. His clawed hand shot out and struck Array across the face. She flew backward, crashing into the wall, and fell to the floor without moving. The other Valori cried out in fear, but none of them moved to help her. They could not. They were not built for violence, but Taiho was. The anger hit him like fire. It started in his chest and spread outward, burning away the fear, burning away the rational voice that told him he was one small human against 6 giant warriors. He did not think. He did not plan. He just moved. The Korath leader had his back to Taiho, still looking at the fallen Ire. He did not expect the attack. No one expected the attack. Why would a tiny naked creature charge at an armored warrior? Taiho hit him low and hard, driving his shoulder into the back of the Korath's knee. It was a technique from his military training, meant for taking down larger opponents. The leader stumbled, surprised, and Taiho used that moment to grab a loose piece of metal from the damaged door. The first Korath soldier to reach him swung a massive fist at Taiho's head. Taiho ducked under it and drove the metal piece into the gap between the soldier's helmet and chest armor. The alien screamed, purple blood spraying from the wound. Everything became chaos after that. Taiho fought like an animal. There was no technique anymore, no training, just pure survival instinct. He bit, he clawed. He used his smaller size to slip between the Korath, making them hit each other when they tried to hit him. A clawed hand caught his left arm and twisted. Taiho heard the bone snap, felt the white-hot pain shoot through his body. But he did not stop. He could not stop. Stopping meant dying. He grabbed the broken door panel with his good hand and swung it at the nearest Korath face. The alien stumbled back, blood streaming from a wound across its eyes. Taiho kept moving, kept fighting, kept surviving. Another hit caught him in the ribs. He felt something crack. Breathing became harder. But he had fought with broken ribs before, during a training accident years ago. He knew the pain. He knew how to push through it. The Korath leader grabbed Taiho from behind, lifting him off the ground with one massive hand around his throat. Taiho could not breathe. His vision was going dark at the edges. But his hands were still free. He drove his thumb into the Korath's eye. The leader screamed and dropped him. Taiho fell to the floor, gasping for air, his broken arm screaming in pain. But he was still alive, still fighting. He looked up and saw something that made him smile despite everything. 4 Korath were down. One was dead, the metal piece still sticking out of its neck. 2 were wounded badly, crawling toward the door. 1 was holding its face, making sounds of agony. Only the leader and 1 soldier were still standing. And they were looking at Taiho with something new in their red eyes. Fear. They were afraid of him. What are you? The leader growled, the same question Ire had asked hours ago. Taiho stood up slowly. His arm hung broken at his side. His ribs were cracked. Blood was running down his face from a cut he did not remember getting. But he was standing. I am human, he said. The leader stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned and ran. His soldier followed. They grabbed their wounded and dragged them back through the broken door, back to their ship, away from the small bloody creature who should have died but refused to. Taiho watched them go. Then his legs gave out and he fell to his knees. Ire was beside him suddenly, her face bruised but her eyes wide with amazement. You fought them, she said. You are broken in so many places, and you fought them. Yes, and you won. Taiho looked at his broken arm, at the blood covering his hands, at the dead Korath soldier lying nearby. I survived, he said. That is all humans know how to do. Ire helped him lie down as the other Valori rushed forward with medical supplies. The Korath will send more, she said. They will tell others what happened here. A single human defeated 4 of their warriors. Then more will come. Yes. Iray's lights began to glow again, brighter than before. But I think you have just changed everything. The galaxy believed humans were weak and primitive. After today, they will know the truth. Taiho closed his eyes as the pain finally caught up with him. But even as darkness took him, he heard Iray's last words. They will know that humans are not prey. There's something far more dangerous. Taiho woke up in pain. This was not new. He had woken up in pain many times before. After the shuttle crash that had killed 3 of his crewmates. After the training accident that had nearly ended his career. After too many missions where things had gone wrong. But this pain was different. Sharper in some places. Duller in others. And there was something on his arm. He looked down and saw a white shell covering his left arm from shoulder to wrist. A cast. Someone had set his broken bone. He was lying on a soft bed in a room that glowed with gentle blue light. Medical equipment surrounded him, but none of it looked like anything from Earth. Organic shapes and flowing lines instead of metal boxes and blinking screens. Iray was sitting beside him. The bruise on her face had been treated, but he could still see the mark where the Korath had struck her. How long? He asked. His voice came out rough and dry. 3 days. Your body needed rest to begin repairing itself. 3 days. Taiho tried to sit up and felt his ribs protest. The crack was still there, still painful, but already he could feel it was better than before. His body was doing what it always did, healing. The Korath? He asked. Gone. They returned to their fleet and sent messages to their homeworld. Iray paused. The messages were about you. What did they say? They said humans are monsters. They said you cannot be killed by normal means. They said your species must be destroyed before you spread among the stars. Taiho laughed, then winced as his ribs punished him for it. I am not a monster. I am just a man. To them, there is no difference. Iray stood and walked to the window. Outside, Taiho could see something massive. A structure made of light and metal and crystal, hanging in space like a jewel against the black. That is Accord Central, the seat of galactic government. Representatives from thousands of species meet there to discuss matters of importance. Why are we here? Iray turned to face him. Because of you. Because of what you did. The Korath sent their messages, but so did we. We sent recordings of your fight. We sent scans of your body, showing how it repairs itself. We sent everything. Why? Because the galaxy needs to know the truth about your species. Before the Korath convince everyone that humans should be wiped out, others must see what we saw. They must understand. Taiho stared at the massive station. Thousands of species. Countless beings from worlds he had never heard of. And they were all going to look at him, study him, judge his entire species based on what he did and said. He was a soldier. A pilot. He fixed engines and followed orders, and sometimes got into fights he should not have gotten into. He was not a diplomat. He was not qualified to speak for all of humanity. But there was no one else. He was the only human for light years in any direction. Ready or not, he was about to become the face of his entire species. When? He asked. Today, the assembly has been called. They are waiting for you. Taiho took a deep breath, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Then help me stand up. I need to find some clothes. 2 hours later, Taiho stood in the center of the largest room he had ever seen. The assembly hall of Accord Central was shaped like a sphere, with seats rising in all directions around a central platform. Every seat was filled with beings of different shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human. Others looked like nothing he had ever imagined. Creatures of light, beings made of crystal, things with too many limbs or not enough. The variety was overwhelming. And they were all looking at him. Taeho was wearing clothes now. The Valori had made them for him, a simple shirt and pants in dark blue. His arm was still in the cast, and he knew he looked terrible. Bruised, battered, broken in several places. But he was standing. That was what mattered. A voice spoke from somewhere above, translated into Korean by the device he wore around his neck. The assembly recognizes the human called Park Taeho, representative of the species known as humanity. You may speak. Taeho looked around at the thousands of faces watching him. His heart was beating fast, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had faced death 3 days ago. Speaking to a crowd could not be worse than that. My name is Park Taeho, he said. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. I am a lieutenant in my planet's Space Force. 3 weeks ago, my ship was destroyed, and I was the only survivor. The Valori found me and saved my life. Then the Korath came and tried to take me. I fought them. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Taeho waited for them to quiet. I know the Korath have sent messages about my species. They say we are monsters. They say we cannot be killed. They say we must be destroyed. He paused. They are wrong about all of it. Then explain, a voice called out from the assembly. Explain what you are. Taeho thought about how to answer. He thought about all the times he had been hurt and healed. All the scars on his body. All the history of his species, fighting and surviving and refusing to die. Humans are not monsters, he said. We are survivors. Our world is harsh. The gravity is strong. The weather is violent. Diseases try to kill us. Animals try to eat us. We have fought for survival every day for millions of years. He held up his broken arm. I have broken this arm before. When I was a child, I fell from a tree. My mother took me to a doctor, and the doctor put the bones back together, and my body healed itself. 6 weeks later, I was climbing trees again. He touched his chest, where the scar lay hidden under his shirt. I have been cut open. Doctors removed a damaged part of my body and sewed me back together. I was walking 3 days later. He looked around the assembly, meeting as many eyes as he could. This is not special among humans. This is normal. Every human heals this way. Every human carries scars from damage they have survived. We break and we repair. We fall and we get up. This is what we are. Silence filled the chamber. Taeho could feel the weight of thousands of minds trying to understand what he was telling them. The Korath call us monsters because they do not understand us. They cannot imagine a species that survives what we survive. But we are not your enemies. We are not weapons to be used or threats to be destroyed. He took a step forward, looking up at the countless faces watching him. Humanity is young. We have only just begun to explore the stars. We have so much to learn from all of you. Your science, your art, your history. We want to be part of this community. We want to share what we know and learn what we do not. He thought about Earth, about his mother waiting for news of her son, about all the people on his planet who had no idea that the galaxy was watching them, judging them, deciding their fate. But I will not lie to you. If you attack us, we will fight back. If you try to destroy us, we will survive. Not because we want war, but because survival is in our nature. It is what we are. It is what we have always been. He stood straight, ignoring the pain in his body. We are human. We break, but we heal. We fall, but we rise. And we never ever stop moving forward. The silence stretched on. Taeho wondered if he had said too much or too little. He wondered if his words would save his species or doom them. Then, slowly, a light began to glow in the assembly. One of the Valori, somewhere in the crowd, was lighting up with approval. Then another. Then more. Then species Taiho did not recognize, making sounds and gestures that the translator told him meant agreement, respect, hope. Not everyone. Some parts of the assembly remained dark and silent. Some faces looked at him with suspicion or fear or anger. The galaxy was not united in its opinion of humanity, but it was a start. Ari's voice came through his earpiece, soft and warm. You did well, Park Taiho. You gave them something to think about. Taiho let out a breath he had not known he was holding. What happens now? Now the debate begins. It will take time. But you have changed the conversation. Before, they only had fear. Now they have something else. What? Irie's answer made Taiho smile despite everything. Curiosity. And perhaps, just perhaps, hope. The debates lasted for 6 months. Taiho did not stay at Accord Central for all of it. His body needed time to heal, and the Valori offered him a place on their homeworld while the assembly argued about humanity's fate. He accepted, grateful for the chance to rest and recover in a place where no one was trying to kill him. The Valori world was beautiful. Green forests that glowed at night. Rivers that sang with strange music. Cities that seemed to grow from the ground like living things. Taiho spent his days learning about Valori culture, their history, their way of seeing the universe, and he spent his nights watching the stars, wondering what was happening back home. Earth did not know about any of this. Humanity had no idea that their fate was being decided by aliens in a distant part of the galaxy. They went about their lives, fighting their small wars, building their small futures, unaware that everything could change at any moment. Irie visited him often. She had become something like a friend, or as close to a friend as a human and a Valori could be. She taught him about the Accord, about the different species, about the politics that govern the galaxy. The Korath are pushing for your destruction, she told him one evening, as they sat watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that did not exist on Earth. They say humans are too dangerous to allow into the galactic community. And what do others say? Some agree. The Mindweavers especially. They are afraid of any species that might challenge their dominance. She paused. But many do not agree. Your words at the assembly made an impact. Species are curious about you now. They want to meet more humans, learn more about your world. Curious enough to protect us? Irie's lights pulsed slowly. A pattern that Taiho had learned meant she was thinking deeply. Perhaps the vote will be close. But there is hope. Hope. Such a small word for such a big thing. 3 months later, the vote happened. Taiho was not there to see it. He was on the Valori homeworld, sitting in Irie's home, watching the broadcast on a screen that floated in the air like a window into another world. The assembly chamber was full again. Thousands of species, thousands of votes. The question was simple. Should humanity be welcomed into the Accord as a new member species, or should they be classified as a threat and dealt with accordingly? The arguments had all been made. The evidence had all been presented. Now it was time to decide. Taiho watched as species after species cast their votes. Some voted yes with enthusiasm. Others voted no with anger. Many seemed uncertain, voting yes or no with hesitation, as if they were not sure what the right answer was. The numbers climbed on both sides. Yes, no, back and forth. Closer and closer until the final vote came down to a species Taiho had never heard of. From a world he could not pronounce. The alien delegate stood in the center of the assembly, its form shifting and changing like smoke given life. It did not speak for a long moment. Then, slowly, it raised a limb that might have been an arm. We vote yes. The chamber exploded in sound. Some cheers, some shouts of anger, some just noise as thousands of beings reacted to the decision. But through it all, one thing was clear. Humanity had been accepted. Taiho sat back in his chair, his heart pounding. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. His species had just been invited to join the galactic community. Everything was about to change. Ire was beside him, her lights glowing bright with joy. "You did it," she said. "Your words, your actions. You showed them what humans are. And they chose to welcome you. Not me," Taiho said quietly. "Humanity. All of us. Yes, all of you." She took his hand, a gesture that meant friendship among her people. "The first human delegation will arrive at Accord Central in 1 year. Diplomats, scientists, scholars. They will represent your species officially. And me? You will go home." Ire smiled, an expression she had learned from watching him. "Your people need to know what has happened. They need to prepare for what is coming. I think they need to hear it from someone who lived through it. Home, Earth, his mother." Taiho felt tears forming in his eyes. And he did not try to hide them. 1 year later, the first human delegation arrived at Accord Central. Taiho was there to meet them. He stood on the docking platform in his old uniform, repaired and cleaned, with his rank symbols polished bright. The cast was long gone. His arm had healed, as he always knew it would, leaving only a faint ache when the weather changed. The delegation was small. 10 people, chosen carefully from nations around the world. Diplomats and scientists and military officers, all of them looking around with the same wonder that Taiho had felt when he first saw the station. Leading them was a woman named Yoon Somi, a diplomat from Korea who'd been given the honor of speaking for humanity in the Accord. She was small and quiet, but Taiho could see the steel in her eyes. She was not someone who would bend easily. "Lieutenant Park," she said, stopping in front of him. "I have heard a great deal about you." Taiho saluted. "Welcome to Accord Central, Ambassador." Somi looked around at the massive station, at the alien beings walking past, at the ships coming and going from 100 different worlds. "You prepared us as best you could," she said. "But I do not think anything could truly prepare us for this." "No, nothing can." Taiho smiled. "But that is fine. Humans are good at adapting." The delegation moved forward into the station, but Somi paused beside Taiho. "The reports say you killed 4 Karth warriors with your bare hands while naked and injured. Is that true?" "I was not completely naked. I had a blanket." Somi stared at him for a moment. Then she laughed, a sound that echoed through the alien corridor. "I think the galaxy has no idea what it has gotten itself into." Taiho watched her walk away, then turned to look out the window at the stars. She was right. The galaxy did not know what was coming. Humanity was young and small and scattered across a single planet. They had no fleet, no army, no experience with alien politics or technology, but they had something else. Something that the Valori did not have, that the Korath did not have, that most species in the galaxy could not understand. They had survived everything their world had thrown at them for millions of years. They had crawled out of the ocean, walked across continents, split the atom, and reached for the stars. They broke and healed. They fell and rose. They died and kept going anyway. Taiho touched the scar on his chest. The one that had started everything. The galaxy might not be ready for humanity. But that was fine. Humanity had never waited for the universe to be ready. They had always just moved forward into the unknown, into the darkness, into whatever came next. And now they were doing it again. Taiho smiled and followed the delegation into the station. The stars were waiting. And humanity was just getting started.